So this morning, my message title is very unique. Never ever preached on this title before. The message title is this: What Women Want. Now, the background to this is that we had a brainstorming session a little while ago, and Jack said it would be awesome at Flourish to give an invite that ladies could invite their husbands, friends, to come to church on Sunday, because this is what we do 52 weeks of the year here on Sundays. And this idea was put out, and I said yes, and then went home and had immediate regret. I'm like, what am I going to say about this? This could be the shortest message I've ever preached. I've been married for nearly 25 years. I've learned a lot, but I still don't really know, so quick answer, I don't know, amen. We go home. I came across this meme, actually, which is why I feel so nervous talking on the subject. Complete guide to what men understand about women. What I ended up doing was I sent a message to 10 women in our church, and I said, would you forward this please onto 10 friends? Love to get some feedback. What do women want? And boy, oh boy, I mean, there were paragraphs that came back. They were not short on words. And so what I did is I collated them. But before getting to that, one of the researchers sent me a video clip to watch. So it was a lady who was preaching, Joyce Meyer, and she used the story. So this is from one of the researchers. So I'm going to share the story as well. And it's about a new husband store that opened up. And the idea was this, that you could go there and shop for a husband, and the rules were as follows. There are 6 floors in the store. Once you visit a floor and leave it behind, you can't go back down again. So a woman goes to the husband's store, and on the first floor, she reads a sign that says, "These men have jobs." And so that would be something. But she thought about it, I wonder what's on the second floor. So she goes up a floor, and on the second floor, the sign read, "These men have jobs and they love kids." She thought, wow, this is getting better by the minute. But she thought, I have to see what's on the next floor. So on the third floor, the sign read, "These men have jobs, love kids, and are extremely good looking." She thought, well, maybe I should take someone from this floor. But she felt compelled to go to the fourth floor. On that floor, the sign read, "These men have jobs, love kids, are extremely good looking, and they help with the housework." She goes to the fifth floor. The sign there reads, "These men have jobs, love kids, are extremely good looking, help with the housework, and have a strong romantic streak." She thinks, well, it just gets better and better. I have to go to the top floor. As she enters the sixth floor, there's a sign there that says, "You are visitor 31,460,012 to this floor. There are no men on this floor. This floor exists solely as proof that women are impossible to please." However, to avoid gender bias, the owner thought that he should open up a new wives' store across the road. Once again, same rules, 6 floors, and once you've visited a floor, you can't go back. So guy goes in there to look for a wife. First floor, it says, this floor has wives that love sex. The second floor, the sign reads, "This floor has wives that love sex and have money. Floors 3 to 6 have never been visited." I'm just passing it on. That's what came to me. I'm passing it on. So amongst all the responses I got from these, it was dozens of responses of what women want, I put them in a table format, and then I created an infographic. And so guys, this is for you. This was the result of the survey. It's actually missing some circles. I just ran out of time with Flourish to add them all on. But the size of the circle is how many women replied with that adjective, or verb rather. So the biggest circles, the ones that had the most replies, loved and accepted. A lot of women said heard without providing a solution. appreciated, seen, safe, connected, valued, supported at home, etc., etc. And then some of the smaller circles, shopping sprees, a glass of wine, and one lady said men to put the toilet seat down. So I was quite interested by this. So I've been showing a few people. I showed it to my sons. Levi, who's 22, his comment, his eyes got wide. He said, there's a lot on this list, eh, Dad? I said, lesson number 1, my son. Another man leader in this church asked me, did any woman reply with the word sex? I said, not one, not a single woman. So this is just putting it out there. Maybe therein lies 2 of the problems, what men in happy Christian marriage are looking for in terms of intimacy, and more importantly, what women arrive with in their mind, like, this is what I want. And us guys who've got a much more limited vocabulary arrive in a romantic relationship thinking, man, hey, I've got a good chance of ticking some boxes here. The girl thinks this guy's going to tick all my boxes. He ticks very few, and just putting it out, possibly that's where there's difficulty. As a starting point this morning, I'd like to look at a verse from the very first chapter of the Bible, and it says this. It says, God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. Some people might talk about the battle of the sexes, but the truth from the Bible is this, is that we've got much more in common than we have differences. We are all made in the image of God. And I believe God's amazingness shines through in different ways through male and female. We reflect him. The nurturing nature, for example, that God has wired into women, reflecting one aspect of his incredible character. And God seems to have hardwired into men this need for an adventure to live out and a worthy battle to fight. And that reflects a different aspect of God's character. But we have the same creator, and he thought it all up. He thought this was going to be amazing. In fact, at the end of the creation story, when he looks at what he's created, male and female, he says, this is very good. If God said that, of course, then it's the truth. There's another interesting Bible verse, and it's from Ephesians chapter 5, and it's in the context of marriage, but for me provides an amazing clue to help us understand each other, men and women, and especially husbands and wives. And it says this, however, each one of you, speaking to husbands, also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. My message today, I'm going to be using some marriage examples from our marriage, but I'm trusting that what are the truth I'm sharing, some of the truth I'm sharing is applicable way wider than just in marriage and relationships within families, etc., workplace, etc. But here's the question related to this verse. Why does the Bible use the word love and respect? Why doesn't it just say husbands love your wives and wives love your husbands? Could it be that God knows one of the primary drivers that he created inside of a woman is the desire to be loved, and one of the primary drivers he created inside of men is the desire to be respected? So what's interesting is both men and women use the words love, we want to be loved. We both use the words respect. It came up in my infographic. Again, just going back to the research here. That circle at the bottom, a lot of women said, I want to be respected. But here's what I think, is that when we use the word love, men and women use it with a slightly different view of what it means to them. And when men and women use the word respect, once again, they have a different picture of what it means. In a woman's world, the word respect, for me, is a subset of the word love. So some other descriptions of love would be I want kindness, attentiveness, respect, to be seen, to be heard. It's a subset of love. But for men, when they use the word respect, it's like it's a synonym for honor There's a different way that men are wired, and so the way that they receive love is through a lens of respect, which, if it's misunderstood, can sound egotistical. But I believe is part of the core wiring of men, as love is a core wiring in women. This book by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, I mentioned about 18 months ago, and some of the stuff I'm saying this morning comes again from this book. There's a book table actually at the back. Folks on the family have very kindly come this morning. I'm not sure how many are left after the first service, but if you'd like to pop in there and buy one of those books, you can, of course, get it online as well. But for us, it was a very helpful book in terms of marriage to understand each other better. And Jack said in her parenting, even of our sons, who are now young adult sons, understanding this idea had a profound impact on how she relates to the boys. I'm aware as well this morning, of course, I can't cover all the bases in the short time we've got. I'm aware that there's some people here that are divorced or having real difficulty within marriage relationship, and I'm trusting that what we say this morning is not only applicable to marriage, but that within marriages and in all of our lives, God can help us think differently about gender, about our interactions with each other. So let's dive into this idea of love and respect. As I said earlier, when women speak about wanting love, and this, I'm using some words here from my wife. She wants to be loved, appreciated, accepted for who she is. She'd love me to listen to her, again, without providing solutions unless asked for. And most importantly, this is a phrase Jack says used often, I want you to see my heart. What does it mean when a man desires respect? Well, I believe that on the whole, women have got a lot better vocabulary. Exhibit A, the circles that I put up there earlier. Much better vocabulary to describe what they're looking for. And men have got a much more limited vocabulary on the whole. In fact, I believe a whole lot of our vocabulary has actually been squashed in some ways. But what does it mean that we've got this driver for respect? In a good sense. We've been wired to put our lives on the line, defending our people, especially those who matter the most, and be willing to die if necessary for the sake of the people we love. If you look through a certain genre of film that's got like, there's danger, a threat, guy does a whole lot of stuff protecting his family. It's like the core theme is the theme of honor, and it's honor that drives these loving actions. For men, when somebody talks down at them, insults them, or disrespects them, it triggers the deepest of internal reactions, based again on our wiring. In one study, 400 men were given the choice, it's very interesting, between two really negative experiences. They were asked, would you choose either, number one, to be left alone and unloved in the world, or number two, to feel inadequate and disrespected by everyone? Which one would you most like to not have? 75% of those men, 74%, said they would avoid number two and rather pick number one. Would rather be left alone and unloved in the world than to feel inadequate and disrespected by everyone. Ladies, if you were to answer that question, how would you answer it? My guess it would be the other way around. If I had to pick out of those, it would be two instead of number one. But again, because of wiring, we're wired for love and respect, respectively. Let me try and use a metaphor to talk about these wirings. If we speak about a man's desire for respect, maybe the metaphor we could think about here is that it's like air that goes into our tires. If you've ever ridden a bicycle with two flat tires, you're not going to get very far. And so in our internal wiring, when there's the air going in of a respect and honor related to, well, not whether we're getting everything right, but that's the atmosphere we're in. There's air in the tires of the car or of the bicycle. For a woman, if she is getting the love that she's looking for from people around her, it's like oxygen going into her lungs, like an oxygen line pushing oxygen into love and into her lungs. And when she's denied those things, it's like somebody steps on the oxygen pipe and is blocking off the oxygen supply. Now, one thing I want to say right here is I believe all of us would make a mistake if we looked only to human beings to get our air supply. One of the most amazing things about being children, having access to a Father in heaven, is that He speaks words of love and life and honor over our lives. He puts air in the tires. He gives oxygen into the lungs. But within relationships, this is a real wiring, and if we'd be foolish not to figure it out about the people around us, especially those that we love. These things are not right and wrong. They're just different. It's like women speak in a particular code, a love code, and it's got a lot of subsets to it. But let's call that the pink code, the code of love. And women, when they talk to each other, don't ever need to try and explain, this is what I mean by I want to be loved, because they speak a common code. Men, on the other hand, their code that we speak, well, our code that we speak, is the code of honor and respect. There's some things I have heard a woman say to a man, and I've thought to myself, no man would ever say that to another guy. I'm sure it happens with women as well, because that just air out the tires. The code of honor, let's call that the blue code of respect. Now here's the challenge. When you've got a certain language code, you see the entire world through that lens. So men put on their blue spectacles and they view the entire world through blue. Women put on the pink lenses and view the entire world through pink. Two of those people get married to each other, and she might say something like, I don't feel loved by you. Pink code language. He interprets it through blue code lenses. What do you mean? I am out there working to provide for the family because that's honorable. Are you saying I'm not adequate? Through pink lenses, adequacy's got nothing to do with it. I want to be seen and heard. I'm hearing you loud and clear, but actually I'm hearing blue lens color change. So, in this book, the writer describes what he calls the crazy cycle when we miss each other. And the crazy cycle goes like this. Without love, she reacts, and without respect, he reacts, which causes her to feel less love. It's like someone steps on the oxygen supply, so she reacts. And that causes her to let a little bit of air out of his tires, so he reacts. The primary reason women react is a feeling of a lack of love, with all of those other words attached to it. Give me space, give me a hug, and figure out when I need which of which. The primary reason men react is a feeling of lack of respect. Inadequacy, being told I'm not good enough, not doing well enough, etc., etc. Now, there's variations of this, and again, depending on your color lenses, is even how you're hearing what I'm saying this morning. Jax and I might have, once or twice, been on this crazy cycle. But let me give you an example of how it might start at a small level and then keep going. Let's say I'm away on a trip. 2 weeks, and we've agreed I'm going. I'm doing church ministry stuff, and it's jolly hard work. Like I'm feeling air in my tires because I'm working so hard, but I'm tired, and I'm doing stuff. I feel like that's honorable. And then I get back home, and we've been connecting only via like video call, not real proper deep connection. And I get back home, and I'm so happy to be home. Sure, the trip's behind now. I'm back with my wife. But over those 2 weeks, she's feeling disconnected from relationship. And so she's not reacting exactly the same. So she might say something like this to me, I'm missing you. I feel like we haven't seen each other. You've been so busy traveling. But through my blue lenses, what I hear, what is she trying to say? Every lady knows. But what do I hear through my blue lenses? I hear you neglecting me, you're not a good husband, and you're inadequate. Again, that's not every time, but sometimes. That feels like air out of the tires. Okay, I wasn't just out there having fun. I might say. Wasn't just doing this for myself. I can use the Bible, all that stuff to, defend my feelings. And what I tend to do is I just take an emotional step backwards. I'm like, I didn't expect that. So I'm just going to wait for the storm to pass. And just her to figure out stuff, Through pink lenses, how do you think she feels about that step back? It's like somebody stepped on an oxygen cord. I've told you I'm feeling disconnected, and now you're taking a step back. That doesn't make me more connected. What's interesting, and this is studies that they've done, is that men and women interpret conflict differently. Physiologically, our bodies respond differently. When men enter the crazy cycle, their pulse rate elevates. There's extra cortisol in the system. They view it subconsciously as danger. A woman experiences no change in her physiology when there's conflict. Pulse rate stays exactly the same. She doesn't view it as danger. She might be hurt, but here's the interesting thing. In the book, it talks about the percentage of most men take a step back emotionally. And most women respond, because they want the oxygen, by taking a step forward. So they're like, we need to talk. We need to figure this out. And the guy's like, more danger. I don't want to. I was trying my hardest in the first place. Air's going out of his tires. Oxygen's going out of her. I'm stepping on her oxygen cable. Crazy cycle. I'm describing this for those who've never experienced this out there. The opposite of the crazy cycle, and the one where we want to be most of the time, is the energizing cycle. And I beg your pardon, in the energizing cycle, his love motivates and her respect motivates him, which causes him to want to do a little bit more, and that motivates her, and she wants to show a little more respect, and so the air goes into the tires, the foot comes off the oxygen tube, more air is going in, and it energizes up into a different language and feeling within our relationship. This is tremendously difficult to do, to switch from crazy cycle to energizing, because in the crazy cycle, through my blue lenses, I blame her. And through her pink lenses, she blames me. So here's the question: who's the first one to start by switching the narrative? If what I said earlier is true, that if we've got access to this incredibly gracious Father in heaven, He does not give us love or respect only when we deserve it. It's unconditionally poured out. So we could say the person who could start the shift is the person who's most courageous, man or woman. The person who's the bravest, and who at that time is finding unique access to God's grace. And it's an amazing thing how quickly the crazy cycle can turn into the energizing cycle when one courageous person, finding a grace in God, says, I'm not going to keep stepping on the oxygen tube, or I'm not going to keep letting air out of the tires. I'm instead going to put air in, or I'm going to put oxygen in. Some practical things on how we can change our language, what we can say to stay in the energizing cycle. From a guy's point of view, what are the things that we could say? What about this? I love you. Heard a man say to me, I told my wife I loved her when we got married, and it hasn't changed. I told her I'll let her know if it ever changes. That's not putting more oxygen in, let's put it that way. Here's an important one. If I feel that there's air gone out of my tires, I could ask a question like this: have I done something that has made you feel unloved? Because that came across as a little disrespectful. Or one of the ways I've changed that question for me is, I feel deflated by that interaction. Is there something I've done that you felt unloved? Deflated like the air out of the tires. Thank you for. I appreciate it when, and fill in the dots. You see, a lot of the stuff that I'm grateful for about my wife, I think it's in my head, it's in my heart, I just don't verbalize it often enough. And I appreciate it when that lets her know she's seen and she's heard. All those different bubbles that came up earlier, guys, needs to be vocalized, verbalized, words and action. One of the things I think my wife is amazing at is being a mom. And I sometimes say to her, our kids have no idea how lucky they are to have you as their mom. You're an amazing mom. You're like Olympic gold medal level mother. What could she say that puts air into his tires? Words like this: I really respect the way you... Now, in the pink code, you wouldn't want someone to start the language like that. Just say, I love you. But in blue code, I really respect the way you, when it's honest, it's not flattery, means a heck of a lot. Air in the tires. You do really well at. And point out what's true. Find the things and say those. When there's a miss, and it feels like he stepped on your oxygen line, this kind of question: have I done something that came across as disrespectful because what you just said came as a bit unloving? Like, it feels like we're stepping into the crazy cycle. Was there anything I did because what you did just felt like that? Can you see the difference here? It's not passing blame. It's not like you're useless. But it's like, I had this feeling. Was there something I did that triggered you to react? Trying to help each other. And thank you for, again, especially when a man has exerted courage, effort, or worked hard to provide, it means a lot. There's a lot of air that goes into the tires when it's recognized and thanked for vocally. From my research, this is a really important sidebar that I don't think I've ever mentioned in the Sunday message. From my research, one lady, her reply, I'm quoting her, she said this. She said, I also think that female issues like menstruation, pregnancy, menopause, and the like should not be underestimated and disregarded. A little zoom out, and then a comment about us. I think it's one of the greatest miracles of creation that God has designed a woman's body to be able to house and nurture human life. If you're in a hospital ICU ward, they keep people alive there. But it needs a stack of machines and a whole lot of space, and that human ain't going anywhere. And yet, amazingly, God has wired a woman's body to be able to take a microscopic seed, the start of human life, and for 9 months to walk around a human walking ICU unit, keeping that little one more than alive, nourished. And here's the amazing thing: every single one of us, man and woman, we all started the first 9 months out of our lives inside of our mom's womb, hearing her heartbeat and hearing her voice. It's incredible how God's designed it. No wonder then that walking ICU unit's able to nurture life comes with a whole lot of hormones and changes attached to it, of which no man would ever properly be able to understand. I'm married to an amazing woman. Words could never fully express, Jax, how grateful I am that God picked you for me. And I know I could say that a lot more. And yet, if I'm being honest, as we are this morning, there are occasional times, sometimes like once a month, where whatever level I felt I was achieving as a husband, it feels like I suddenly am down here in terms of where things are at, in terms of how well I'm doing, lower down here. And the weird thing for me is I don't feel I'm doing anything different, but apparently I just woke up one morning and boy, was I very inconsiderate. And this isn't in conversation, of course. It's just that it's the way my blue lenses interpret often a change in tone. So I feel a change in tone, like air going out of the tires, just a comment or a sentence or an interaction, like, whoa. From her point of view, she does not feel like she said anything different. So this has been the topic of quite a lot of conversation in our world, because the crazy cycle, doesn't matter what week of the month it is, that feeling of disrespect and unlove can happen anytime, but in our world, it's most often just the risk has usually been just once a month. And so some of the gifts that we try and give each other related to this big subject is, first of all, her gift to me is a little bit of a heads up a few days in advance, like maybe by the end of this week, things are going to be a bit different. And that really is a gift, because else I would just wake up every day And so just a heads up for me is very helpful. Now, my gift for her in return, it wouldn't be helpful for me to then, she says, somewhere near the end of this week, things might be different. I'm like, oh, Lord, have mercy. Not a gift. Doesn't help. That won't make her want to share anything with me next month. But by me saying, thank you so much for letting me know, and then actively making a mental note to be more careful, kind, and understanding, that's a gift that I can give her. Another gift that we try and give each other is to save any big emotive discussions for just a week later, and we usually arrive at solutions much faster. We've also changed the name. So in our relationship and in our family, we don't refer to it as PMS, which I heard someone joke once stands for poor man syndrome. We do not call it that. Another couple told me in their family they called it Shark Week. We do not call it that. And I'm not sure where Jack's found this phrase, but I thought it's been a really brilliant one for us. We refer to it as Nurture Week, because that's when I can be a little more kind, caring, and she feels she needs a little more nurture. The interesting thing about this, in the family I was raised in, my dad had told me this is just a taboo subject. Don't talk about it. So we didn't. But we wanted to actually do something a little different in our family. So with our boys who were teenagers or now young adults, Jax might say to them, they might experience a different reaction from her on a day. It's just a little more different. And she realizes it, so she might say to them afterwards, guys, I'm sorry for how I came across. I just need a little more nurture this week. And that's hopefully helpful to them as well, to say, hey, not every day is going to be exactly the same, but this is a gift we can give each other: honesty, love, respect, etc. As I bring this in for a landing, I'd like to make a comment briefly on unconditional love and unconditional respect. And I want to quote Jax here, because, and this, let me just read what I wrote it down instead of giving her the mic. She said, we much more readily embrace the idea that love should be unconditional, but I believe that respect should also be unconditional. I want my husband to love me even when I am unlovely. And if I work at it, I can always find something about my husband that I can respect. I'm not sure about how I feel about that phrase, if I work at it. But it's really profound. I respect others, she said, not because they have earned my respect. I respect others because they're created in God's image. If we look hard enough, we can find things about every person in the world that we can and should respect. There's a lady in our life group a number of years ago. Their marriage was just about done. And this idea came into her head. Somebody said to her, think of one thing you can thank God for in your husband every day. And she said, I can't even think of one. The guy drinks too much. He's just, everything is bad. And then she woke up. She said, I can think of one thing. He came home last night. So thank God for that. And the next day, and she spent about 6 months just finding, and she had to dig deep at first, finding one thing to thank God for. But that started a different language in their home, a language where she was able to put some air into his tires. He started showing her some love. And their marriage ended up fully repairing. It was a remarkable, actually, work of God's grace. So this is a really big subject. I covered just some of it. Ladies, I don't know if I've even touched the tip of the iceberg of what women want. But hopefully before God, being created male and female in his image and having sensitivity to each other, we can find our needs met in him and give others what they're looking for as well. Why don't we stand together? Lord God, thank you so much for the incredible wisdom in your scriptures, that we're made in your image, and it's very good. Thank you for the incredible wisdom we find in Ephesians 5 about love and respect, different language, different lenses, different code. And Father, I want to pray for every single man here today, that in our interactions with women, for those of us who are married, with our wives, for the dads, with our daughters, with our moms, with our sisters, with work colleagues, that we would understand kindness, appreciation, verbalizing things that we might only usually think. Help us. For every woman here today, Father, I pray that you would give them grace to find the things that are worthy of respect in each man around them. Love and respect doesn't mean we love absolutely everything or respect absolutely every action, but we respect people because they're in the image of God. We show love because God showed love to us. And help us to have a different narrative than the world has, to move from the crazy cycle to the energizing cycle. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Please stay standing for the last minutes. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Steve. I'm definitely not going to attempt to summarize that preach. I am very stuck on Shark Week, but anyway. If you would like to find out more about water baptisms, please make your way through to the meet and greet for more information. If you would love prayer for something, we have a prayer team up front that would love to pray for you. For our visitors, please do visit our Connect station. And for everyone else, there are cappuccinos on sale, free teas and coffees. Please make use of that. Please hang around. We'd love to get to know you. Have an incredible Sunday. Thank you very much.